because I guarantee that 90% of you will lose 90% of the money in that book. It's all fucking noise. It's just noise. This is something I'm toying with. So here's my probability set. Is you come in on Bitcoin and then you walk into the candy store and it's like, holy shit, this is the best thing I've ever seen. And before you know it, you're doing ridiculous things you should never be doing and having a lot of fun doing it, even knowing that it's crazy.
Hello, everyone. Welcome. Glad you're here. Welcome to the new year. 2024 is going to be extremely interesting. There's going to be a lot of crazy stuff going on, and things going to be effing wild is all I got to say. So as you can see here, some very important stuff, because we know the ETF was already launched a few days ago. We've seen the price actions. It looked like a lot of it was buy the rumor, sell the news, but also there was some liquidations from Grayscale, blah, blah, blah. At the end of the day, a week or two, couple of days isn't really going to matter. What's going to matter is the long term and the long run for what this is going to do and the adoption and the price of action. So a week, 10 days, whatever amount has been, I really don't care. It's really irrelevant. But we know where we're going with all this. So I have some important stuff that everybody needs to listen to for the launch for 2024. Again, 2024 is going to be a wild ride. And before I start, one thing I want to talk about real quick here is about DeFi. All my stuff before has been about DeFi projects. Most of you watching follow me because of DeFi projects we've been in or things I follow or covered, and a lot of scams and things of that nature and people that basically have been right about. I mean, yes, I made a mistake temporarily thinking Ethereum was going to do some stuff, but I righted the ship and I've been pretty much right about everybody else once the signs were there and to show where it came from. And my feelings and my gut and stuff that I've been following are true. This is what I have to say about DeFi. Right now, DeFi is dead. It's trash. It's garbage. It just, there's nothing going on. I'm not saying as a whole DeFi is dead. I'm saying right now. Right now, okay, I would say for at least 6 months, so you can mark it here. We're in January 16th as of recording this, 2024. For the next 6 months, and maybe even up to a year, DeFi is going to be garbage and trash. You need the money adoption to come in. You need for there to be an event for the Fed to put the money printers back on and have the liquidity come back in. That's what's going to drive Bitcoin, especially with the ETFs. It's going to be the gateway drug. That is going to bring people then to the crypto.coms and the Coinbases. That is going to lead them to then find and discover DeFi. They're going to go, holy crap, look at these yields and what are these different projects? And that's when the money's going to flow in. And that's where, and if you've been in DeFi and you're a veteran, where if you pick smart project and have things, you're going to be able to do so. However, developers are people to step up their game. Right now, devs and projects are garbage. They're trash. They're all doing the same crap from 3 years ago, which 3 years in DeFi world, you might as well be looking back at the 1940s and 1950s. That's about as irrelevant as it is. All these stupid things, all these stupid little tiny animals and food things and trying to be all cute and all these different stupid things and the same old copying ROI stuff. They don't work. There needs to be innovation. You need to have devs who are not just, they were all in it before for themselves. They're rug pulling. They're finding ways to slow or hard rug. I mean, you've seen it all. So right now you need real devs, real projects to bring in that money. But when it comes, I'm telling you right now, 6 to 12 months, I'm personally out of it. It's not worth it. It's trash right now. So that's just my opinion. So just you do what you want with that. But let's see how that plays out, that prediction. So now, as I go into this, and before I go into this thing here, we're going to go through a few more things. So as I said before, I even had a video about Elizabeth Warren before. The problem and what's going on with all this and with the SEC and the approval is fiat, we all know, is crap, is dying. And please, during this election year, don't fall for the narrative of one's going to be a savior, one side's going to do this, or one side's going to do that. Yes, if I had to pick a side, the Republican side is way more friendlier to crypto because the left side and Democrats are all, their pockets are lined and they're bought, sold, and basically are owned by the big bank and fiat industry. But look at this. Basically, Blockchain Association responds to Elizabeth Warren, says crypto can disrupt too big to fail banks. Okay, so if let's talk about Elizabeth Warren, she's been bought and sold by the different big banks. Okay, and then if I move this over here again, we'll see, look at this. Corporate default soars 80% in 2023 and could be high again this year, S&P says. So more corporations are defaulting on their debts. They can't pay. They can't refinance right now. It's too expensive. And then let's take a look at another thing. What do we have here? This is on the agenda for tomorrow. There's a 45-minute talk, January 17th, in Davos with the WEF, right? The World Economic Forum, preparing for disease X. They've already now know and already pretty much ready to unleash phase 2, it looks like. With fresh warnings from the World Health Organization that an unknown disease X could result in 20 times more fatalities than the coronavirus pandemic. So it's a disease they know nothing about. They don't know anything about, but they already know that it's 20 times more fatal. How do they know that? How can they have that kind of figures if they don't even know what else is out there, if it's unknown? Okay, so all these different things are going on. I'm not trying to put a tinfoil hat. I'm just saying WEF right now is having their things annually. We know what's going on. We know the plans of stuff they make. There's things going out there. I'm telling you, this is going to be a wild year, so be ready for it. But there are things, again, that we can do to prepare ourselves for this year. So let's go here and start listening to a couple of things I want you to listen to. Okay, first, let's see some stuff from Raoul here.
Another mantra that I have when you're in the middle of a bull market that has the macro behind it is it's all fucking noise. It's just noise. And so, has the main thesis changed? Is the world becoming less digital or more digital every day? More. Are investors who aren't exposed to it getting more interested in it? Yes. Is there capital flow coming in? Yes. Is the business cycle supportive? Are liquidity conditions supportive? Yes. In which everything else is noise. So it doesn't change anything. It actually gives it a higher probability of rising. And it gives it a higher probability of rising because you flushed out the leverage.
Yeah, and I mean, it literally cannot continue up.
So again, the point to say is there's going to be a lot of short-term volatility in a lot of this. And me personally, every time there's been an opportunity of it going down, the prices come down, I personally just DCA'd in more, had more liquid capital, had more here to keep DCAing in. And that's what I feel should be doing for Bitcoin and some other top coins I want to hold. I think right now, the best play is holding Bitcoin, ETH, and a lot of good altcoins right now is going to be the best move for the foreseeable near-term future. Still going to be long-term great. I still think you're going to see 3 to 10x, in my opinion. I believe the holdings I have on average. Some hopefully get a lot more, and yes, going to have percentage and higher risk coins that have more degen, so to speak, to them. And like I said before, 6 to 12 months before the DeFi world maybe has some liquidity coming back in that may make that more sustainable. Not really sustainable, but having the money flowing in where there's some opportunities there. As we don't know yet to be sustainable until we see what projects are available. But there's some good stuff here. So I want to keep sharing more of the conversation to help all to wrap, as we're going to end this basically little recap video here of some really important things I hope everybody remembers and takes to heart and uses for themselves. All right, here's another clip, and I think I have one more good one for all of this here to give everybody some ideas and also Raoul's suggestions of price and percentage probabilities of where things can go.
And on all of it.
So, yeah, my thesis remains unchanged. So I'm mainly denominated in Solana. Second is ETH. And like you, I think ETH has a big catch up as soon as this ETF is done. So that pause after the ETF is announced is, I think, the start of the ETH run. Because it's very simple. Let's say $1 billion of speculative capital went in to speculating on the Bitcoin ETF. Okay, once that news is out, you'll sell. Then what do? Oh, the ETH ETF, well, that's going to come by maybe June. So in which case that $1 billion goes into ETH. Now, what's interesting about ETH is it's a third of the size of Bitcoin currently. So if you put the same $1 billion into an asset that's a third of the size, it probably goes 3x more than Bitcoin did. And, ETH with the deflationary asset, the more activity, the less ETH there is around. And all of the staking means there's not a lot of liquid ETH around if this happens. So it could get very, very squeezy. So yeah, I think that. And the thing I do know is some tokens with new charts will do well. Who's that going to be? Is that going to be, we've seen it with Bonk, could it be with any of the others, a whole bunch of these? And that's a bit of a crapshoot who gets adoption. The one thing that for everybody else to bear in mind is that these cycles tend to play out the same way. So it tends to start with crypto spring. Is Bitcoin dense? We then start transitioning later spring, and it seems to be always DeFi season. I don't know why, but DeFi season starts taking off. Then you start hitting alt season when global liquidity starts increasing year on year. Alt season hits and ETH starts outperforming Bitcoin, and then you get some of these ridiculous tail events. Also, NFTs lag. So we're kind of like we were beginning of last year in crypto, where some of the NFTs have found a base and are rallying, others are still bleeding. Obviously, some of those will go to zero, obviously. But that NFT space, it really takes off when ETH goes to all-time highs. That's what happened last time around, and then it utterly explodes because everyone's got money to recycle. They buy trophy assets, everyone wants to buy a punk, and then off it goes again. So we've got that madness still to come. We've still got another leg, meme coin madness, dog coin madness comes later still. So that's in Q2 is kind of dog coin madness to come. So all of the psychology of the degens, that'll play out as normal, plus the sensible bets of the right layer ones. This is something I'm toying with. So here's my probability set. 60% chance it's a regular cycle, somewhat like the last cycle, but maybe a bit more like the previous cycle, that 2017. They got a little bit crazy. I think there's a 20% chance that maybe it all gets front loaded because we get all of the retail demand via the ETF, and it actually is a shorter cycle than expected. If you think the previous cycle was actually a bit stunted versus where people's expectations were, maybe this is stunted in terms of time. The other outcome I've got, the other 20% chance, is that this is a gigantic bubble cycle, somewhere between the 2012-13 version and the 2015, because everybody can now participate and total fucking madness ensues. And I don't know which one of those three it's going to be, but they've all got a decent chance.
Maybe it's my bags and future wealth talking, but I lean towards the latter. But I do have a premise for that, and I'll tell you why.
Because don't forget, if you think about, everybody was a little bit shocked that we didn't have a final leg last time around. So they now got that imprint. Like they've all been waiting for the down 50% leg, the COVID leg, which is not going to happen again. So they're now all expecting that it to be a smaller cycle. And I always look for where can the crowd be wrong, but still be right, which is like it's going up, but it goes up more.
My feeling is that it might continue to be a dampened or smaller cycle for Bitcoin, which we've seen sort of each, halving cycle. It goes up 1,000%, 20%, 3%, whatever the numbers are, right? From the previous all-time high. But I think people underestimate just how degenerate these TradFi guys are. And once they come in through the Bitcoin ETF, and once they get a taste for this market, wait until they find out about meme coins and altcoins and NFTs, and that real liquidity comes in there. So I think that we get the inevitable trickle down of even institutional traders. I'm not saying that pension funds are buying punks, but I think that there's going to be just an unexpected boom in capital, and that's going to flow through that same cycle that we talked about before.
Everybody's been through that cycle. You have, I have, everybody. Is you come in on Bitcoin, and then you walk into the candy store, and it's like, holy shit, this is the best thing I've ever seen. And before you know it, you're doing ridiculous things you should never be doing and having a lot of fun doing it, even knowing that it's crazy.
All right, here's the final clips. I think it may be one more. This might be the last one I got to remember, but this is a good one, so pay attention.
Let you go. But when you keep saying, don't fuck this up, I know you had an epic video about it maybe a month ago. I saw it reshared, I think, today on Real Vision. What can people do really quickly to not fuck this up?
Don't use leverage. Today proved it. Don't overtrade. Just hold. Have patience. If you're going to have a degen book, have 10% of your assets in your degen book, and keep off DeFi. Don't go out trying to lend stuff for fancy returns because you get rug pulled if you're not careful. You've added a layer of risk, and before you know it, you don't own your coins anymore, and the game is over for you. So don't do that. Also, look, most exchanges nowadays are higher quality and relatively safe, but if you can, you should not keep your coins on an exchange. That exposes other risks. So you need to have wallet hygiene. Just store things on different ledger devices or whatever. Don't store it in one wallet. Don't use that wallet for everything, because then everybody sees your wallet and you can be open to a scam. So just do that, and just don't FOMO into the shiny thing, because that is a sure way of losing money. And just Step back, let the madness ensue, have a smile on your face, watch it, but try not to get caught up in it. If you do, use your 10% of your book to get caught in the madness so you can laugh at yourself, because I guarantee that 90% of you will lose 90% of the money in that book. Some of your friends will make the 100x, and you'll be always thinking, I can be them. You won't be. You never will be.
All right, so that's some interesting info. Nothing spectacular, but just some good advice and some good predictions and some good ways to see some of this upcoming market. And as he says, don't F this up. So what are your thoughts? What do you think on that? What do you think about the opinions about DeFi? Because I agree, and I've been feeling that already. What are your opinions about altcoins or different ones? Which ones do you like? Please leave me a comment. I'd love to give you a thumbs up if you find this valuable and you'd like to subscribe. I'd love to have you. Please subscribe. If you want to join conversations and talk on the Telegram channel, link is below to do so. Thank you very much for your time. I truly appreciate it. And as always, here is to your success.